The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode. And now, here he is, Brandon.
All right, welcome. You are now resuming the Brandon Peters Show's Farewell DCEU retrospective, already in progress. This is part 3, including discussions on Wonder Woman 1984, Zack Snyder's Justice League, The Suicide Squad,
That's one,
and the Max series Peacemaker. With me for all of those, we have from Puck and the Outside Scoop, coming on inside to the show, Scott Mendelson.
Always a pleasure. Thank you for having me back, as usual.
Yep. And hopping on and joining us today for part 3, we have from the Normies and a veteran of the Brandon Peters Show live, it is Chris Johnson.
Hello, how's everybody doing out there in Brandon Peters land? How's it going?
Hello. How are you doing?
Oh, pretty good. You know, having one of those cold Midwestern nights.
Oh, yeah, it is
Enjoying
cold here, Scott. It is really cold here today. And
It
it's
was
gonna
weirdly cold over the weekend, the holiday weekend. And for as long as my wife has always made fun of me whenever it's cold. It's like, you grew up in Ohio. You should be used to the cold. That doesn't mean I don't like it.
It changes when you move out there and come back.
Yeah.
Like it is, yeah.
Never get used to it after you get used to the nice mild winters and that splintering pain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, today was like, oh wow, already. Okay, here we go. So awesome. So Chris, you are a part of the Normies. Have you
Yes.
done any watchings for any of these before?
Yes. So the channel right now is doing Peacemaker. I'm not watching it with them because I watched it when it came out, but we did
okay.
the Justice League back in 2020 during one of our famous quarantine reactions where we essentially built a makeshift-esque movie theater with a projector and a bunch of curtains in between, so we could all watch the same movie without being on top of each other. Wonder Woman, we did a skit about, but I don't think we have a video of us watching it. And then the Suicide Squad, we also watched.
Awesome. So if you can see if Chris flip-flopped, stayed the same, made the same comments, you can go check it out. Normies on YouTube.
People are
How dare
allowed to
you.
change their mind, Brandon.
They are. So anyways, before we get in this, I want your thoughts on like DC, like the characters of what has it been to you growing up, if it has been anything to you, or your thoughts on just the comics, the characters, and the movies up to this point before the DCEU.
All right. Well, so I saw, the OG Batman back in the day came out. I remember the Happy Meals toy. I was there for all that. Then the Dark Knight was on Cartoon Network or whichever network it was on. It was the beautiful one with Kevin Conroy doing the voice of Mark Hamill.
Oh, the animated series.
Yeah,
okay,
animated series.
Okay.
Yeah, my bad. Batman the animated series. That one was like my solidification into Batman, into like the DC world. And then they had that Superman one that came out that was in the same vein. And then they did Justice League. And that was like my intro to the Justice League and to all of that. And so growing up, that's all I really knew of DC. And then I watched like Mask of the Phantasm and Under the Red Hood in like the early Netflix days because it was on there, or it was on one of the streaming sites, and everyone was like, you got to watch it. Batman Beyond and Static Shock was a part of the DC universe, and I found out that whale like after watching it. I just thought it was a show on 4Kids Network or whatever. But yeah, so a lot of the cartoons, not a lot of the movies, none of the comic books.
Gotcha. And thoughts on this DCEU era?
Oh, some good stuff for sure. A lot of weird misses, but misses in weird ways that don't quite make sense. But I liked Aquaman, weirdly enough.
Yep.
I think Shazam was good. Like when they kind of started getting out of the Zack Snyder muddy, super gritty type stuff, I was like, okay, now that's interesting. Where are we going? Wonder Woman? The first one? That was a good movie.
Yeah. No, you're right on point with where we've been this whole time. It was like after that first, somewhere the odd one in the middle there is that that Justice League theatrical, because they went if you take that out, it's like Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Shazam, Birds of Prey, and we're all
Birds
like,
of
oh
Prey.
yeah. We're like, yeah, they're doing it. They're finding their footing.
Everything's gonna be okay.
Everything's gonna be great, right? We're all
They don't have to be Marvel. They could be their own thing. And even the Suicide Squad. And then other stuff happens to them. And they're just,
yeah, it happens.
Who owns Warner Brothers this week? Who knows?
That girl movie, get that out of here. It's done. Nah, just delete.
Hold on. Speaking of,
God.
One wish that will not be renounced on this episode is for Scott and I to see Batgirl, to include it with this retrospective. So if you are someone listening and you know how, heck, if you have it and you like, I'll give you my number. We can FaceTime. You can hold the phone, put the phone down right in front of your TV as it plays, and then turn it off. I'll watch it. But we would like to include it. But somebody out there has
You'll notice I'm not saying a damn thing during these segments.
He wants to keep his job at Puck. But I would like to see it. I would like to know. I'd see Brendan Fraser as what was
Firefly.
Firefly, that's right. Come on. We got,
the world needs it. We all deserve it. I watched The Whale and I almost cried.
Mm-hmm.
So just give me Brendan Fraser doing something, not The Whale. Not that The Whale was bad, but it was very emotionally heavy. Now let me see him set stuff on fire.
Yeah, exactly. You
He's
win the
hysterical in Killers of the Flower Moon in like a glorified cameo.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
He is.
Yes.
Another sad one.
Yes. Otherwise, yes, but he's like the happy part.
That's true. But yeah.
Literally so.
So yeah, that's our Batgirl begging for the week. That's never going to come true, but you never know. You never know. If you don't ask, you never know. So we will head on over back to 2020, a fun time for all of us
Good
in
times.
the world. December for Wonder Woman 1984.
I can save today, but you can save the world.
One day, you'll become all that you dream of and more. And everything will be different. This world is not ready for all that you will do.
The world needs you.
Which is directed by Patty Jenkins, written by Patty Jenkins, Jeff Johns, Dave Callahan, on a story by Jenkins and Johns. It sounds like a law office. Starring Gal Gadot, Pedro Pascal, Chris Pine, Kristen Wiig, Robin Wright, Connie Nielsen, Lily Aspel, Christopher Polana, and Robbie Patel. Diana must contend with a work colleague and with a businessman whose desires for extreme wealth sends the world down a path of destruction after an ancient artifact that grants wishes goes missing. So, Scott, share the story of Wonder Woman 84 debuting on HBO Max.
Okay.
Which is what Max was, kids, in the future.
For 2 or 3 glorious years, it was HBO Max.
The good days.
Before PureFlix bought Warner Brothers. Before Angel Studios bought Warner Brothers.
God. Jesus. Well, yeah, literally.
Oh, God. Anyway.
Yeah, Angel Studios. Okay. We get it, Scott. We get it. All right.
Wonder Woman, supposed to come. It was originally announced for, I believe, November 1st-ish, first week in November 2019. And then it was moved, I think, early December 2019. And then it was moved for no reason related to quality or anything. Like, fuck it, let's just open it in June, the same weekend the first one came out 3 years prior. And that made sense at the time. I had argued in print or digital ink many times to do that. And going into the year, it looked like Wonder Woman 84 was going to be the biggest grossing movie, at least domestically, of the year. Because assuming Avatar wasn't going to make its release date, and that's always a coin toss, looking at the films that were supposed to come out in 2020, there were a number of likely solid hits. But with the caveat that I severely underestimated Top Gun Maverick's appeal by a little bit, there was nothing else on the slate that would have come all that close to the likely 350 to 400 million domestic gross of Wonder Woman 84. As you know, the pandemic happens. Theaters are shut down. And then HBO Max debuts that summer. And Jason Killer is brought in to run Warner Brothers via AT&T. He's a Hulu executive. And he, like a lot of executives in that moment, basically puts all their eggs in the streaming basket. HBO Max has a problem here. They just launched, but they don't have the slew of high-profile content, forgive me for using the word content here, that they were expecting because there's a pandemic. You know, it's supposed to open up with like a Friends reunion and a Harry Potter reunion special. And, you know, these are things that end up not happening. So skipping slightly ahead, that's why we eventually end up with the Zack Snyder 4-hour cut of Justice League, because they need something. Now, there was a hope that the worst parts of the pandemic would be over by Memorial Day, and that theaters would slowly be open for business by late summer. And it was going to be sort of the opening shot in the arm to theaters. And then you'd have, September, late August, early September with horror films. Candyman, Quiet Place 2, Conjuring 3, to sort of get everybody back in the groove. And then Wonder Woman 84 was going to open in October of 2020. Boom, off to the races. Tenet does not do well in North America. Ironically, I would argue it did very well overseas. It did like $300 million overseas, which I would say, having seen the film, was about 75% of what it otherwise would have done in non-COVID times. Unfortunately, when it opens in North America, New York theaters are closed, LA theaters are closed, several other big cities are still closed. It frankly flops in North America. It only does about $58 million domestic. Everybody panics. The big films that were supposed to close out the year, No Time to Die, Wonder Woman, Black Widow, etc., they all get sent to 2021. Except for Wonder Woman 84, what gets announced in, I believe, late November is, okay, fuck it, they say. We're going to put Wonder Woman in theaters on Christmas Day and on HBO Max concurrently. Now, knowing that the movie was going to make a lot less at the box office, they paid off Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot with $10 million checks apiece as sort of theoretical profit participation that never happened. And it becomes sort of a very early test case for an otherwise surefire tentpole during a pre-vaccine moment in time when it's still touch and go about going to theaters. Like 2 or 3 weeks later, it gets announced that the entire 2021 Warner Brothers theatrical slate will also debut both in theaters and on HBO Max concurrently. This is still a subject of great controversy. Obviously, it sort of shatters the theatrical window as we know it. And there's been years of conversations about whether it did harm to the box office of these films. Honestly, I've long argued that it really didn't, for a couple reasons. First of all, most of the Warner Brothers movies slated for 2021 were going to flop anyway. Quality notwithstanding, Reminiscence, Those Who Wish Me Dead, The Little Things. Look, I love Denzel Washington, but it's probably his worst theatrical picture. Give or take Equalizer 2, but Equalizer 3 is a lot better. And Matrix Resurrections was always a coin toss. Space Jam: A New Legacy was a coin toss. Frankly, Dune was a coin toss, as was Godzilla v. Kong, because Godzilla King of the Monsters had bombed. So, honestly, the only surefire
the Conjuring movie, too.
Oh, yeah, and the Conjuring movie.
Yeah.
But that was, those are cheap. So, you're not risking much there. The only surefire hit that got sent to the HBO Max streaming mill was Wonder Woman 1984. So, Christmas Day, the movie opens with mixed positive reviews. And it does okay on a severe COVID curve. It does like $17 million over its opening weekend, which of course is more than anything's opened to since The Invisible Man, I think.
Yeah.
Onward,
yeah. So
but as more people see it, the word of mouth decreases. And the overall discourse around the film is, I would argue, poisoned by the fact that it's available online concurrently. So you have people that otherwise had no interest in seeing it and would never plan on seeing it, that were basically hate watching it for social media clout.
Gotcha.
This includes what became a regular feature of the COVID era, where these new theatrical films would come out and you'd have major scenes excerpted on Twitter with point and laugh commentary before they were even, before opening day even rolled around.
Yeah.
And some of the discourse around the film, I would argue, was ridiculous. It's an 80s comedy that's paying homage to buddy swap movies. It's not fucking rape justification, people. As far as I know, she never even sleeps with the guy. They never come right out and said that they fuck. They probably do. But,
All right. Well, Scott, we're getting to the movie. I want to get Chris's thoughts. Okay,
Sorry.
so we'll shift to movie thoughts. Chris, your thoughts on Wonder Woman 1984.
So I definitely was interested in seeing the movie because I like the first Wonder Woman so much.
Mm-hmm.
It had its own vibe that was still inside of I'm just going to call it the gritty DC verse. It was still kind of inside of that, but outside of it too. Had a vibe. It was cool. Electric cello. So the second one's getting ready to come out. Me and the wife are excited for it. And before we even get into the whole what happens to this other guy's soul thing, which I know is not supposed to be a part of it, but it was everywhere. And like that, it was really part of the reason why we did a skit about this movie. And it was just like, that was one of the things we talked about in the skit, but it was other shit too. But anyway, regardless, it's just that it had a lot of that 80s aesthetic and it just totally doesn't work. Like it, for me, it's not able to be funny enough or kitschy enough or fun enough. It was just like, I feel like they were trying and maybe something got messed up in the writing or behind the scenes, but like it didn't land. It's not, the older Wonder Woman was at least fun and it's, I don't know. This one, kind of all over the place. You have to bring Chris Pine back for some reason, which I really that doesn't need to be done. And then in the end, it's just fighting borderline 80s Trump. Yeah.
I think with this one, I enjoyed it. So this is probably maybe the second time I've seen it, and I enjoyed it much more the second time. I was fine with it the first time. Like it was just this kind of, it's a little more average than I wanted the Wonder Woman sequel to be because I liked the first one so much. And the Pine thing is they went for the old trope of like, well, what did we do in the last one? Let's flip it around. And they fish out of water him, which isn't near as interesting as her trying to learn about humanity as he is just like, oh, my people have advanced. It's different. But that Pine she, like we pointed out in the last one, we were walking, like her best scenes are with him. Like he makes her better. I compared it to George Lazenby in On Her Majesty's Secret Service, like Diana Rigg, and he's not the greatest actor in that movie, but when he's with Rigg, he's really good. He's pretty good.
Like having someone to play off of.
Yeah, he plays off of them really well. There's a weird thing with me with this movie's 80s-ness because it's there. It's not one thing I will say. I thought the first time around, I was like, well, this is just merely 80s in title and setting, but I like that it's also not hitting you over the head with the 80s stuff, which is good. It keeps it normal, mainly to like a mall scene at the opening is like, here's all your flashy 80s stuff, but its themes and its politics and everyday life are where the 80s stuff carries. However, this could have used some needle drops of like some banger classics from that year. They never go to the music.
I think it's like Stranger Things was kind of doing that a lot. So I felt like a lot of things that were coming out was anything that was 80s with a needle drop, especially a mall involved, was like, oh, it's like Stranger Things. It's like, what could they have done?
You don't need to be Fear Street. You don't need to be Fear Street where it had like 90 needle drops in a minute and a half. But I mean, like the trailer did Blue Monday, which was, there were some accuracy issues about that song and stuff. But that year I looked up, I'm like, Forever Young. I want to Radio Gaga, Hold Me Now, When Doves Cry, Jump, something like give us
Jump
3 of them.
Good. Jump would have been good.
The mall scene at the beginning, like
that's it. Right, she slides in, saves the kids.
Yeah, something in there. I don't know. I like that the finale goes for something different rather than she has her fight with Cheetah, but when it comes to facing Pedro Pascal, it's something different. It's a Star Trek kind of ending where you have the conversation, you play the mind games, you do this thing, and you work for the good of humanity to come through rather than and granted, when you are presenting this movie, as Scott said, to the cynic Twitter crowd to watch streaming with their phones, earnestness doesn't come off as well as sitting in a theater with a quiet crowd engaged. They're going to go after it. I think earnestness has made a comeback in theaters since, but
because it's in theaters though, right?
Maybe
And I saw this in a theater. I was lucky enough to get a press screening that was actually in theaters. And obviously, like a lot of films that unfortunately were COVID casualties, it plays better in theaters. News of the World, Ray and the Last Dragon, The Midnight Sky. It's a Netflix movie, but nonetheless.
I will say it does deliver some nice
Mulan.
big action scenes in here when they go overseas. The highway, is it a highway when it's just a strip through desert?
The street.
The street stuff. There's some fun action, fun big stuff for me. I love when they shoot IMAX stuff. But yeah, it's just sort of, it falls short. I guess I'll hold my talk about the consent thing and the West Asian representation in the movie after Scott. But also, I noticed too, they didn't go to like large cast this movie. They got Wig and then Pascal, and then there's no other big parts. There's some character actors you might know, but like it's really light. Like it's a 4-person cast and 2 of them are from the last movie. It's really, really interesting. And this is pre-shooting during COVID type stuff. So you can't blame it on that. So it's kind of small there. But anyway, Scott, your thoughts on the film?
I don't love it, but again, I was fortunate enough to see it in theaters, and the opening scene was shot on IMAX cameras, and that's how it was supposed to be seen. Mm-hmm. I did appreciate that it was, to me, it felt like Patty Jenkins trying to make a female-driven superhero movie that was a bit more complicated than What If a Woman Kicked Ass? And it almost felt in some ways, whether it works or not, as a rebuttal to that kind of female-driven action-adventure film that's just as tough and rough and tumble as the dude films. And this is a film that sort of leans into Wonder Woman's perhaps stereotypical femininity. And I really liked it. In some ways, it felt to me like one of the more transgressive comic book superhero movies I had seen in a long time, because it went against the grain in terms of being grounded and darker or grittier or more action-packed and more violent. It's on paper, it's what everybody said they wanted from their comic book superhero movies. It was uplifting, it was fun, it was idealistic, it was colorful, it wasn't filled with violence. That being said, she is clearly a fan of the Donner, the Superman. And to whatever extent we count Superman 2 as a Donner film, that's a complicated conversation. It's also clear that in her attempts to play in the Superman 2 sandbox, she pole vaults into Superman 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That opening scene in the mall is right at, it's almost identical in tone to the opening scene of Superman 3.
This is true.
She's
a Lester fan, not a Donner.
Yes. And to be fair, I kind of knew that going in, just because when you see the first look photos and she's dressed like she was in the old 70s TV show, and you see the aesthetic, it's like, oh, this is going to be like TMNT Secret of the Ooze, where the first film, it's based on the slightly darker, grittier, more majestic comic books, and then the sequel is going to be based on the lighter, more colorful, kid-friendly television show. And that turned out to be a correct prediction, for better or worse. Now, that being said, I don't think it entirely works. A big reason is because I think bringing Chris Pine back, slits the film's kneecaps right when it's getting going.
Yeah.
A, he doesn't need to be there. B, the film, like another Pedro Pascal film, Kingsman: The Golden Circle, shoots itself in the face in the second act by resurrecting a dead character and spending the rest of the running time justifying why that character is still around.
True.
Only to then revert to the status quo that already existed at the end of the first film.
And it took
Makes
her
sense.
decades.
Yeah.
But that's a Zack Snyder thing. And that's that's Zack Snyder's fault. Because in Justice League, she's still mourning Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
Not Rogers. Steve the other one.
Played by another Chris. It's very confusing.
Trevor.
Steve
Trevor.
Steve Trevor.
It took my brain a sec.
And again, I like the film. I think it's a 3-star entertainment. I think it's nowhere near as good as the first one.
Nah.
But I admire what it's going for. It's a hell of a swing.
Yeah.
You have Patty Jenkins, who has shattered the glass ceiling in terms of female-directed mega-budget superhero movies. And for her encore, she makes, and I do not intend this as a criticism, almost an excessively, stereotypically girly comic book superhero movie that's going to not quite work for those who want, of both genders, who wanted a more majestic, ass-kicking, she takes a sword and fights bad guys superhero adventure film.
Yeah.
And I think it all works? No. But I sure as hell admire the attempt.
I think it gets wrapped into one of the problems that a lot of the DC movies has is not having a very strong villain, while this what Gordon Gekko, like greed is good type of dude, like it makes sense for an 80s villain, and it just doesn't like all pull together in the end. Like he's a threat, and you can understand that, it's going to take away directly something in Wonder Woman's life that she wants to beat him, and it's like an emotional thing. But I don't know, if for a villain in a movie, like the fight with her and Cheetah's cooler, you know what I mean? And it's a comic book movie, and comic book movies kind of live and die off of like, oh, is that shit cool or not? And there are like the Eternals, like, is that shit cool? Like, I mean, the villain in the Eternals, what? You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where it's like, if it doesn't have a strong villain, someone to go up against, then...
You mean the Marvel film that tried to replicate the tone and atmosphere of the Zack Snyder DC universe?
Yes, that
Eternals?
That we just don't talk about.
Movie didn't work, but I admire the swing, because if they had fucking pulled that off, can you imagine? If Marvel had had their own group of not Justice League that were more popular than the genuine article?
That'd have been crazy.
But anyway, sorry, I interrupted.
But no. I was wrapping up. That's it. It's just, I think it's the villain problem, and it is a big choice. And, they're always like, make big choices. And I feel that. I want that. I want movies that I can't conceive. Show me some shit that's going to blow my mind. You know what I mean? Like, don't give me what I think I want, and don't give me what's formulaic. Give me something brand new every single time. And I like that this movie tried to do that, but still it just didn't work. And it felt like, in hindsight, they could probably be like, oh, it was the pandemic, but like it was made before the pandemic. Like, I don't understand what they were thinking or what they were doing or how we got to here, because you watch it and it feels mad because it doesn't really commit to any of those things all the way. And it's just like,
I do think the film was, other than the way it was releasing a film where the eventual message is that everyone is halfway decent if you give them a chance, did not play very well after a year in which millions of people were killed by a global pandemic that was exacerbated by, just speaking to America for a second, political factions that were politicizing the very things that we were supposed to do to save our own lives.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's...
If we just stay in for 2 weeks...
Yeah.
No.
If we had just
everyone renounced your
Memorial Day weekend,
everybody was Cheetah.
Yeah.
And not
that's the thing is, I think I like the characters, the villains, but also they're not really, because again, I think the point she's trying to make is that if given the opportunity, everyone will give in to their better angels. Yeah. And that also I think that kind of backfired in a couple ways, because the film got some blowback in terms of its some of its portrayal. It's like, oh, you have this greedy Middle Eastern oil baron, and Cheetah's this woman that wants to be a stereotypical model, and she's evil because of that. Well, but by the end of the film, the point is that none of them are evil. They're all good at art. And all of them in the end make the right choice. And the film is far more upfront about gender dynamics and the threat of male on female violence than the first one was. But because it's such a gee whiz, no harm superhero movie, like you have scenes where Cheetah is seen as sort of going to the dark side because she beats the shit out of a would-be rapist. And it's like, well, he kind of had it coming.
Right? 100%.
In a film that was less committed to being wholesome, if she kills the guy, then okay, I buy that as a point of no return. But as far as I know, nobody dies in this film.
Yeah.
And so it's a film where in some ways it's undercut by its desire to be wholesome.
Yeah. Well, the West Asian stuff, like a lot of it, there was a lot of issue because of just, well, one, it's like it's the 80s, it's the oil, it's like, okay, I guess that's where they go. But there's also the idea people had of Gal Gadot throwing her own political agenda and stuff, and her scene beating them to a pulp was an issue.
Yeah, but she didn't beat them to a pulp.
Well, not beat them pulp, but fighting
like
against...
the one scene that everybody got pissed about was like she shaves a couple children from a car.
Yeah.
First of all, is she supposed to not save those children?
Right, exactly.
Second of all, the point is that pardon me for saying this, Middle Eastern lives and art Israeli are still worth saving. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And C, if you watch the scene, she's the one that launched that missile in the first place.
Right.
So she was saving people that were endangered by her own actions.
Right.
And she fails to save them.
Yeah. So yeah, there's that, and then there's the consent thing, which I never I watched it and I was like, huh. And then it was funny because people more so were uptight about it because of the sexual nature, but I'm like, they went and put that guy's body in danger in action scenes. That's, I think, worse than boning him. Like,
yeah.
They took him over. He went overseas. He flew in an invisible jet. He was in the middle of a mob. Like,
he might have kids and a 401k and shit. He ain't got no PTO.
Yeah. It really, like, I guess.
And this was the 80s. This was, before Reaganomics completely crippled the economy. He probably had PTO.
I grew up in the 80s watching movies like that, like body swaps them, so I'm ignorant to a lot, like, so that them hooking up, so it didn't bother me. But when people brought up the consent thing, I thought first, I was like, oh, I didn't think sexually. I thought, oh my god, all the danger, like he could have like lost a limb, something like that.
Yeah.
It's fixed by one scene. If we are introduced to Diana on a date breaking up with this guy and saying, I just can't, because she can't get over Steve, and then that's the guy who Steve takes over. So we can assume they've already done things, or the guy would have been happy to do something like that. That's fixed.
But if you're going to magic somebody back from death, why not just magic them all the way?
Right.
It's magic.
Yeah.
Just, there he is. It's him. His body's back. Why do the other
Why did they do that? Yes.
It did not bother me, but I absolutely agree with you that there was no reason they couldn't just magically, he's there.
Yeah. It's an
without
odd
a
choice.
Scientific explanation.
I will say, so
maybe they do you think there's a chance that they didn't know if Pine was coming back?
Oh, the other dude was super handsome, so they're probably like, maybe he can be a second fiddle out here.
Yeah, do you think there's a chance that guy has some scenes cut on the floor where
I'm guessing they knew he was coming back before they went into serious development, because I know she really wanted him back,
right?
And he seems to be pretty loyal to the people he works with, as long as everything, he did her TV show.
Oh yeah. Okay, that was my
feeling is that it sort of plays into the notion, and this has been an ongoing problem, where the new generation of not a white guy filmmakers are being held to moral standards that were never applied to their predecessors in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And to me, it's like, to what extent do you want these filmmakers to be able to make the kind of movies that we say we want them to make?
Yeah. Well, yeah, like I think like somebody, like when they were talking about like a woman making a generic superhero movie, it's like they can have one, right?
Yeah, they're
like,
allowed to do that.
I mean, it's okay if it's like just they hits like basic, like they can go through those motions too. They can, it's so bizarre to me.
No, I really like the first act. I like the quirky and specific Kristen Wiig and Pedro Pascal characters. I like that he wasn't, everybody thought, oh, he's a Trump character. It's like, yeah, really? He's not
He's the
a
infomercial guy.
Yeah,
That's
he's
pretty much, yeah.
For one thing, he seems to care about what other people think of him, and he loves his children. So,
Yeah.
but then, for me, it just loses a lot of steam when Chris Pine comes back, because to me that feels like a giant distraction.
Yeah.
It's while we were working on the skit for this, it was in January of 2021 on the 6th. And so I just remember the whole time like trying to shoot this and like think about this like Wonder Woman like wholesomeness. We're trying to do this skit and be funny, and like I'm getting text messages and watching the Capitol be stormed on TV over here.
Oh geez.
And being like, no, focused in, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And it just felt like I
took the day off.
Yeah, I see. I should have, because I know some of the cynicalness of what was happening on the TV ended up into the skit, and it probably, for people who are watching, made it feel like we are on that same kind of like, oh, we're not for the wholesomeness of this general thing. Like, I don't know. It was a rough time. It was a really nice movie. I feel like maybe that nice movie wasn't really fit for that rough time. Like,
the one tweet that really cheered me up during that, that moment is someone who said, I know this looks really bad, guys, but if we all get together and renounce our wishes, I think it'll be okay.
This one did hit pop culture with the memes of the life is
if you
good,
say
but
I
it could be
renounce my
better.
wish, everybody knows what you're talking about.
I renounce my wish. I renounce. So yeah.
But no, I think had it not opened, had it opened in a normal non-COVID world in summer 2020 in theaters, I don't think it would have made as much as the first one. But a 650, 750 worldwide probably would have been fine.
Yeah.
And what they spent $200 on it to make it, right?
They did.
And that's a shit ton of money for a movie that.
Yeah, but everybody got a raise.
It would have been nice if they would have just kind of broke even and be like, okay, well, maybe that's the last Wonder Woman movie, instead of it being like this tarnish of like, ugh, you didn't even make that back. And come on.
Well, and that was the cost of sending it to HBO Max instead of waiting and releasing it in summer 2021.
Right.
That being said, as much as I am still angry and bitter about how Wonder Woman 84 got sacrificed to the HBO Max streaming gods, absent Project Popcorn, I do not believe that Warner Brothers would have had the safety net that allowed them to release Godzilla v. Kong and Mortal Kombat when they did. Two films that comparably overperformed and basically are responsible for us even having a summer 2021 movie season.
Yeah.
So, I mean, whatever. I'm of two minds about Project Popcorn. On one hand, I agree with everyone in terms of making theatrical less of a big deal, shattering the window, treating people to stay at home. But I also think it saved movie theaters.
I think we need that, though, just because if we're going to keep releasing $200 million movies, which even if, let's be for real, dial that down to $100 million movies, how many people are going to buy an app or a subscription to the subscription service to make sure that the people can make the money back on the fucking $100 million movie that they make? That's not how it works. Like, I'm not of the old mind. I do think that whatever new is coming will be good, but we're experiencing kind of the death of cinema. I was watching a video about this earlier today, and like, we do need to be able to go out and watch movies. It was a good system, and it can be changed and be updated and made better. But without that, if these movies keep coming out streaming, like Netflix is dropping gold on streaming and it's just gone and no one fucking knows about it until someone is like, hey, have you seen the best movie ever that's on Netflix? And it's like, Jesus, why is that there? And you don't know. And like,
Netflix could have made a ton of money with The Glass Onion and just said like 1 weekend's fine.
Yeah, and this because Netflix is
and
in
the
competition
only
with
reason
movie
they
theaters.
did that was to kneecap the movies that were opening wide Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah,
because
I will
that's
go
who
to my
they're going
grave
against.
swearing that was the not they could have opened it at any time in the many empty October, November, December weekends. They opened it over Thanksgiving, which was packed.
Right, and like because of that, for me as a person who likes movies, it like the art form in general, like without that, we're going to get less art movies that are cool and good. And luckily the superhero movies are kind of on their way out, but unfortunately the video game movies are on the upcome. And like, I just want, no man, I just want fucking movies. Can we just?
And that's been a problem since 2016 because late 2015, early 2016, basically a large segment of the casual movie-going populace shifted their casual entertainment consumption from theaters to streaming.
Yeah.
So the people that would see just a movie or they would see the event film and the movie. They stopped seeing those films in theaters and either watched them at home or didn't watch them at all, and they binge some 8-episode television show instead.
Yeah.
So that's been, unfortunately, a problem well before COVID.
Well, and I mean, not to pile on the superhero movies, but I was listening to another problem here, like where we get crappy product and stuff is going to sag it down. Is I was listening to Justine Bateman talking about that she's not cool with the agreements that they made about AI and stuff because the superhero movies, the productions have trained us that phony stuff's fine. Like the doing the de-aging, all the stuff is just like, well, what's AI then? Throwing like, background actors have less work, because what is AI? We digitize them now. We do AI stuff. So, and that's why people won't have a hard time accepting AI because those, IPs
Which is why I am incredibly relieved. Well, I don't generally root for movies to fail. In general, I still don't. It helps that Indiana Jones 5 and The Flash both bombed this summer.
There you go.
Because when you see the future, I could have easily seen, like, we're going to use AI to do 30-year-old Harrison Ford in a new Indiana Jones movie. Or Sean Connery is going to be Bond again.
Solo 3.
Yeah. And as we saw, there isn't as big of a marketplace for that kind of thing as we maybe were afraid of.
Gotcha. And in terms of streaming, Scott, do you know what there wasn't as big a marketplace for as some people might have thought?
Marvel and Star Wars shows?
Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Fuck.
2021, our next movie.
That's a good segue.
So begins the end for Darkseid.
I've never seen a being as strong. Maybe one. He's back.
I spent a lot of time trying to divide us. I made a promise to him on his grave. I need to bring us together. There are enemies coming from far away.
They serve an old power.
This world is divided. No protectors here. No lanterns. No Kryptonian. It will fall in his name. I have turned worlds to dust. All of existence shall be mine.
I have a second chance. I am not gonna waste it.
He said the age of heroes would never come again.
Fighting the devil and his army. You know, I don't care how many demons he's fought and how many hells. He's never fought us united.
It's time to stand. Fight. The time is now.
Directed by Zack Snyder. Of course, Zack Snyder's Justice League, I hope, would be directed by Zack Snyder. Written by Chris Terrio on a story by Snyder, Terrio, and BL.
Actually, Henry Selick.
Starring Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot, Ray Fisher, Jason Momoa, Ezra Miller, Henry Cavill, Amy Adams, Diane Lane, Jeremy Irons, Amber Heard, Willem Dafoe, Connie Nielsen, J.K. Simmons, Ciarán Hinds, Jesse Eisenberg, Joe Manganiello, Joe Morton, Ryan Shang, Jared Leto, and Harry Lennox as the Martian Manhunter. Determined to ensure that Superman's ultimate sacrifice wasn't in vain, Bruce Wayne recruits a team of metahumans to protect the world from an approaching threat of catastrophic proportions. And I am going to get better background for this conversation. Let me see here. Oh, here we go.
God's sakes, that was 3.5 years ago.
This one? Oh.
I was right, by the way.
This movie's not for you, Scott. It is for adults. So yeah, the Justice League. This is the intended from what I know. The only thing compromised from his original idea was he wanted the Green Lantern to visit Bruce Wayne at the end, and Warner said no, you can't use the Green Lantern. So he used the Martian Manhunter.
And I had heard for years, back when this was supposed to be a 2-part movie, that the cliffhanger was Green Lantern showing up and said, "Watch out, fuckers, Darkseid's coming."
I remember it was Chris Pine rumored to play the Green Lantern for a lot of it.
Too many Chris's.
Too many Chris's.
Too many Chris's.
I will say,
right fucking there.
I will say this.
John Stewart.
I admire Chris Pine's choices aside from the
Jack Ryan recruit.
Yeah, I admire he does unexpected. He's fine, and he's always wonderful. So this one, has anybody watched it in one sitting? I've not. I've seen it twice. I did not. Oh, Chris, tell us about Zack Snyder's Justice League.
What year did this one come out? Was this 2021?
March
2021.
2021.
Mm-hmm.
Still deep off in the pandemic. We watched this on the Normies with pandemic seating, where we had our chairs pushed apart and using a projector. It was honestly fun to watch it that way because it kind of, and we were hurting for movie theaters. It was a very long movie. I did like it. It is better. It's definitely better, but it's too damn long. All right. There's a lot of slow motion. You know, Zack Snyder can't get away from that. It's his calling card. And I don't know, all in all, fun watch. Hard to recommend to people because it's so damn long. I have a hard time recommending Oppenheimer because it's 3 hours long, and this one is 242 minutes. So good movie though.
Good movie.
I did enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah, it is better. I was surprised at how different it was. There does get to points where it's just better versions of things that were in the movie, but like the big action scenes for a lot of it. And the finale is worth the build up this time. Like it is. I was like literally when I first saw, I was like excited when Superman showed up. I was like, yeah, this is And before it was just like, they're just beating the heck out of a CG guy in a CG dome.
Third act is a huge improvement.
It's huge because, and I like, he doesn't command it's not his movie, but seeing Steppenwolf's journey a little bit more makes him a stronger villain. Seeing communicating with Dark, you're building a better threat, I think. I'm just like, it's not like, oh, I understand him now. He's, doing.
He's a middle manager that just wants to please the boss.
Right.
And he looks much better too, right?
Oh, yeah. He's bigger.
They updated his look by a lot, which is a really good idea.
Yeah. That's one of the things I liked. I definitely think there's a very, very good 2 hour 45, 2 hour 50-minute movie hidden in this because there's one of the things I thought could have gone. There's a lot of Lois Lane and Martha Kent stuff that Superman's not there. Why are we following them? And it all gets regurgitated to him when he returns to the farm. Or you could have added more to that. I liked Lois Lane. You could have opened the movie with her setting the cup where his monument used to be and just kind of got the idea that she's not doing good. And you see the ring as she puts the cup there, so she's still wearing it. I think Ray Fisher's done a lot better here. I know it's a lot of flashback, a lot of montage, but I do like what's going on with him, and I think he gets a lot more to do, and gets to kind of carry it. And Joe Morton's in a lot more of this movie, which benefits. What else do I have? I could have done without the nightmare end sequence because
oh my god, yeah,
all that
if you shut it off at 3:30, much better movie.
because that I don't know what all that scene does is just a bunch of characters trying to one up each other with saying a character's name is dead. Like that's all it is. It's like, oh yeah, you screwed up and Lois Lane is dead. Well, what about Aquaman? Well, I don't know. Well, I killed Harley Quinn. Like, what is all this? Like,
I thought and I might be wrong, but I thought that was all set up for like it was going to be inevitable and we would get that future.
Yeah.
So it kind of felt like a mid like the trailers that they do at the end of movies, but
Yeah.
in the middle of the end of the movie.
Right.
And like, I mean, it's a lot of hype, but I don't know. That's a Batman movie. That's not a new Justice League movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
team dynamics, action scenes, humor, character work, leaps and bounds better here. And yeah, it takes 4 hours to do it, and a lot of it is a lot of setup, a lot of, it takes its time. I do enjoy it, but it is a long journey that, I sat down. I think the first time I watched it, I watched the first 2 parts. I was like, I'll do 2 parts a day or something like that. Or there's someone put out a good way to watch it, but it hits a part somewhere in there between parts 3 and 4. It hits a thing where I just didn't want to stop. I was like, okay, this is good. This is going. The first 2 parts, easy to put down. And then the choice of being in 4:3, that's a choice. That's not IMAX.
I was here for that, actually.
I'm here for that, but like, I think they were like, yeah, it's the IMAX. I'm like, that's not the IMAX ratio, but okay. So
it's old TV. The 4:3's got the movie has a vibe. It's a reason to do it differently.
Mhm.
It kind of reminds me of AI, where 2 different auteur directors were like working on a project, and because of one reason or another, someone else has to step in and finish it up. And it's like, well, now it's weird. And I feel like the whole entire journey of all of Justice League is like that. Even the Zack Snyder version still has choices that were made by not all the way him. It's like as much as that he could put on. And
right.
It definitely comes out as a Zack Snyder movie more than it is a Joss Whedon movie.
Yeah, for sure. Scott, what are your thoughts here?
With the caveat that, again, in my mind, the movie's over as soon as Joe Morton finishes his second monologue. When he does this, I do this, and I'm a much happier viewer.
Yeah.
So you have a 3-hour, 30-minute movie that I think you could easily nip tuck into 2 hours and 2 hour and 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And I remain angry that that's not what happened. And obviously, some of that's Warner Brothers' fault, some of that's Snyder's fault. And we don't know what compromises might have been made, absent the family tragedy that sort of blew a hole in everything. But in a theoretical world, you get a 2-hour, 40-minute Justice League movie that has the pacing and the tone of the Seven Samurai. And three months before Black Panther, you have a fucking Justice League movie where at least the second half of the film is headlined by the black guy.
Yeah.
And I think Ray Fisher is fine in the theatrical cut. I actually like some of his choices in the theatrical cut better, just because I like the idea that he doesn't think of himself as a monster. That's sort of an inversion of the Quasimodo thing. But, he is the least known actor playing the least known character who's the brooder and the tragic hero of the group. Of course, he wasn't going to be the audience favorite. That being said, watching the film, a lot of the new footage is stuff that never would have made a theatrical cut.
Yeah.
You're never going to have a 10-minute silent scene of, what's his name, Barry Allen saving his non-girlfriend who he's never actually met from a random car accident that goes on and on and on and on.
Because he was trying to get a job. That's
yes.
But we could have been told that at the police station.
You're never going to have, a silent montage of Ray Stevens silently doing low-key superhero stuff while his father monologues at him for 10 minutes.
Ray Fisher?
In a way that I don't think what did I say, Stevens?
Stevens, yeah.
Yeah, Fisher. Which one's Ray? Who's Ray Stevens?
Ray Stevenson, R.I.P.
Oh, right.
Hashtag my Punisher.
Yes. And so it's and so much of the discourse was, these scenes were cut out because of this political reason, and this scenes were cut out because of race, and all of this nonsense. It's like none of these scenes were going to make the theatrical cut anyway, because they were director's cut scenes. They're the kind of things that you get on the Blu-ray as a special feature, in the same way that Kingdom of Heaven as a 2-hour and 20-minute movie is pretty damn good, even though most people will admit that the 3-hour one is a hell of a lot better. So I wish the parties could have come together for some kind of compromise and gotten this pretty damn good 2-hour and 40-minute Justice League movie.
Well,
And then you know what? You move on from the Snyder era. He goes off and does Army of the Dead on Netflix. Bring in Walter Hamada anyway, and everybody lives happily ever after.
Yeah, yeah.
And but
I think
go
because
ahead.
streaming, they're like, well, people can binge watch it like a show, but they didn't
exactly.
separate it into parts. It's
They did
just
not.
it is a one you play one. If they would have separated into parts and dropped it over a period of time, like over like a weekend or something, or started it Thursday
Well,
and it
and
ended.
you know the reason they probably didn't do that? Because by this time you had Nielsen ratings that were being offered every week.
Mhm.
And even though HBO Max was barely accounted for in the Nielsen ratings, in all of the ratings that we have for streaming, they're all by time. And if you drop one 50-minute episode a week or two 50-minute episodes a week, you're going to have a lot fewer minutes watched for that piece of content versus one gigantic fucking movie.
Yeah. Which this one didn't make a blip, right?
No.
That was the end result. It was like, whoa.
And the sad thing is that 36% of the people that started it finished it, which means only 36% of the people actually got to the good stuff.
Jeez.
It's such a slow burn. And it's
Yeah.
not like it's a movie that's meant to be a slow burn. Like there are movies made for that, but this isn't that. It's fucking Justice League, man. We're supposed to be hitting the ground running. And I do think that a bit of Zack Snyder's comic book and the way that he approached it, if he would have thought about the people like me, who's I think a lot of other millennials that I've at least talked to that came up with DC via cartoons, because DC has always had the best cartoons.
Yeah.
We grew up watching a lot of that. When you say Cyborg to people of my age and my generation, they think Teen Titans.
Teen Titans Go, yeah.
And they think about the OG Teen Titans that was a little more anime style, and Teen Titans Go. If you think about the way Cyborg's depicted there, and you are like, oh, Cyborg's going to be in the movie, and then he's brooding sad boy the whole time, you're like, well, that
and the irony is
quite line up.
Without getting too much into this discourse, because it's really complicated, him being asked or forced to say booyah was a sign that he was abused by Joss Whedon.
Yes, because he said it, and it was like, I don't like that. That's not how I wanted that to happen. Why are you doing
and
that?
I get it, because he signed on to make a very, he signed on to make, basically the Seven Samurai. And instead they ended up making something that was probably closer to Batman Forever.
Yeah.
And with the caveat that not all conflict is abuse. And I believe everything he has said in the media without necessarily feeling that it rises to the level of crimes and misdemeanors. I do understand why he was pissed off that he went from being basically a co-lead in the Justice League movie to being a third string character who gets a number of major hero moments in the third act.
Yeah. Well, I would cut, if I was cutting down stuff, his origin stuff and whatever, I would leave here. I'd cut Barry Allen stuff down. I would probably cut some Aquaman stuff down. I would leave most of his stuff, because it feels like he's our gateway to this Justice League.
He is the audience surrogate character.
Mm-hmm.
And it is frustrating that this isn't the approximation of what we got in theaters. Because again, it's how do you differentiate Justice League from the Avengers? I don't know. And I wrote about this in fucking 2013, just on a whim. You center it on the not white guys. At this time, back then when I thought John Stewart was going to be Green Lantern, because how do you fuck that up?
Right.
You said it from the point of view of Wonder Woman and Green Lantern.
We already had Hal Jordan, so it would make sense to do John Stewart.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you have a generation that grew up on the cartoon. John Stewart is their Green Lantern.
Yeah.
That's how I know.
That's one big reason why Aquaman was a hit, because you had an entire generation that already thought Aquaman was pretty cool.
Yeah. And and then you have the problem where everybody already loves a certain Flash on television, as I mentioned, and you've got
make him Wally West. Problem solved.
You could have made him Wally West, or you could have tried, because you're in such a big movie with such a big cast, you could have been like, let's try to get him in here. Let's maybe try the Gustin thing and see if it can have a tie to our TV shows or something. And, skills, but
minority opinion, maybe. I don't know. I think Ezra Miller is very good in this film.
Yeah, he's not bad.
I think he's fine in The Flash, a movie I do not like.
No, he's
But,
he's
You know,
quite
they
good.
are in every single scene of the movie, and it's a fascinating double performance. I
Yeah.
don't think they're the problem.
Judging on performance and not human
Yeah.
being, they've always been top tier. There's a reason roles kept getting. If you ever saw, we need to talk about Kevin, Perks of Being a Wallflower. You know,
Trainwreck.
there's train wreck.
Huh.
You know, there's a lot of
You won't talk
talent.
about The Stand.
No.
And
But, yeah.
Fantastic Beasts is nobody's fault.
No.
All the cast is innocent.
Right. So I mean,
Um,
that's the thing. Like there was talent there, and then all that stuff
Yeah.
comes up, and you're like, what? This guy? Okay,
All of
wow.
it, which mostly didn't start until the pandemic, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm not
There was
mistaken.
I think there was he punched
Was the
someone out.
choking thing before COVID?
I think just shortly before COVID, there was a bar incident
Fair.
Yeah.
that sort of
In
put
Hawaii,
it on
was that the
Because
Hawaii one?
This wasn't
Yeah.
happening in 2014 when it was, you know, again, I always joke that I'm old enough to remember when casting a queer, Jewish, really weird, quirky indie actor as the Flash was damn well progressive.
Yeah.
Made sense at the time.
Yep. So yeah.
And
Justice League.
as far as the movie, you know, on its own, again, ironically, my biggest problem with the theatrical cut of Justice League is the climactic action scene stinks.
No.
Oh, the theatrical.
That movie with this film's climax makes $800 million.
A little more
I
a little more Steppenwolf to it.
Mega
Because-
bad guy
you know,
problem.
Yeah.
because you have the climax makes sense. The heroes have a plan that is coherent. You have clear stakes. It looks nice. You have big, you know, I love Fisher's, you know, climactic beat where he just, you know, almost under his breath, he says, "But I'm not broken and I'm not alone." And that's the emotional climax of the movie.
Yeah.
And the idea that he's sort of being set up as the next Superman with arguably Batman's, you know, grimdark sensibility.
Mhm.
Again, that was a wonderful notion.
Yeah.
And you know, it's a shame Zack Snyder made two really divisive, grimdark deconstructions before he decided, well, maybe I'll make this one that's very sincere and empathetic and aspirational. And how was Warner Brothers supposed to know that the third time he would actually do that?
I actually think in his career, though, that's got to be like all of his movies are kind of that, right? Until
Yeah.
we started getting around to here. Okay,
Yeah.
aside from the Isles of Gahul, but you start
Which is his
getting around
best
here. Like the
That's
Sucker
not an
Punch
insult.
and
I
all
fucking
that.
love that movie.
Yeah, he stayed like a dark guy. I think that like if this movie wanted that kind of different emotional beat, but I don't know. He didn't ever have it easy on this project because it was always going to get compared to the Avengers, and it was always going to be how do I make it the Avengers without making it wildly just a Zack Snyder movie. And I think at the end of it all that he did well, really well on this one, better than I thought it had the right to be, better than I thought it was going to be. For all the people who are online talking about give us a Zack Snyder cut, I was like, you guys are fucking crazy or actually bots.
Yeah.
And then it comes out and I was like, you know what? I'll eat them words. It's
Yep.
actually better.
I ate crow.
It's good. Tight.
Yep.
All they needed was it was almost done, except for $70 million in post-production work.
Right?
Yeah.
And it is still, I will to this day, it's too damn long.
Yeah.
I do like it, but like how
How do you just return
the
for
time.
a watch? You know, like
Right, yeah.
I watch.
It's a lazy river movie.
I'm gonna spend my entire evening if I can finish it watching it or something. You know,
they
like
should put it on planes because if I was on my way to LA, I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, well, that's 4 hours down. That works.
there you go. Justice League.
And it's funny because it's, you know, it's basically two movies. The first 111 minutes are basically all the setup and the world building that everybody complained that Warner Brothers never did before. You know, they're they rushed into Justice League and they didn't do the setup first. And it's like that's the first half of this movie.
Yeah.
And then the second half is a Justice League adventure.
Yeah.
And outside of the discourse and the politics and all the crap that happened, it's a pretty solid piece of entertainment, and there's never going to be anything like it ever again.
No.
Oh, that is for damn sure. That was it. This is like when people talk
Yeah.
about the height of like when like film students are studying in the future about like, well, when was the superhero bubble close to popping? And like when the dude made the 4-hour-long superhero team up movie, that was it. That was the peak, and everything has been down since then. And it's going to level out to being something normal. You thought it would have been Endgame, but 4 hours
on a streaming service.
The one thing I comparing the two versions, I do think up into the third act they are very similar, and that's not a criticism. I mean, it's clearly the movie he wanted to make, so of course they would be similar. And I do think the Joss Whedon version is or the studio version, because let's be honest, not the movie Joss Whedon wanted to make either. You know, I don't like calling that the Joss Whedon version because it's the studio cut. But I think it's a fascinating film school exercise. And how do you take a 4-hour movie and make it 110 minutes and make it pretty coherent? And I think the big changes in certain dialogue scenes, ironically, make it more of a sequel to Batman v Superman and Wonder Woman than the Snyder cut was.
Yeah.
And it's actually a darker, grimmer, more pessimistic movie than the Snyder cut.
True. But yeah, it is what it is. It's there for you right now on Max, or you can buy it on 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray. With a bonus feature on it. Pretty cool.
How many Blu-rays is that?
It is 2. The first 4 parts are on disc 1, and the remainder is on the second disc because it's still too big. So anyway, leagues, you know, when you have a league, they're usually filled with squads, right?
Yeah.
Like the Suicide Squad from 2021.
You're a hero to me.
She might got me confused.
Your mission is to infiltrate and destroy Project Starfish. Successfully complete the mission, you get 10 years off your sentence.
No problem. Oh, I call it Stato the Conqueror.
I love your accent.
Directed by James Gunn, written by James Gunn, our second one with just one writer. Birds of Prey and The Suicide Squad. Starring Margot Robbie, Idris Elba, John Cena, Viola Davis, Joel Kinnaman, Danielle Melchior, David Dastmalchian, Peter Capaldi, Sylvester Stallone, Storm Reed, Steve Agee, Jennifer Holland, Michael Rooker, Nathan Fillion, Jai Courtney, Flula Berg, Mei Ling, bad. Oh shit. Pete Davidson, Sean Gunn, Panache Kajes, Alice Braga, and Taika Waititi.
And Idris Elba.
That was up at the top.
Are you sure? Okay.
Idris,
I heard Margot Robbie first. Sorry.
Yeah, he was second. Supervillains, Harley Quinn, Bloodsport, Peacemaker, and a collection of nutty cons at Belle Reed Prison. Join the super secret, super shady Task Force X as they are dropped off at the remote enemy-infused island of Corto Maltese. So, like, the script said Deadshot, and then it's like kind of like erased it. rather than commit the superhero movie crime of recasting a fucking actor in the same part, let's Deadshot. Or no. Yep.
Bloodsport.
All due respect, Deadshot is not fucking T'Challa. You could have fucking recast it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's Will Smith. Well, you know, like character's got a daughter. Like it is like the continued story of Deadshot.
I mean, their powers are also pretty the same.
Oh, yeah, it's the same fucking
Undefined,
character.
good with gun, can shoot anything. So yeah, but I don't know. I'm not deep into the comics like that. They had to be like, we have a backup for Deadshot. It's like, yeah, of course, it's Bloodsport. Everybody knows that.
Did you like the first Suicide Squad, Chris? We have it as our worst movie so far.
Yeah, that one's a bit of a mess, but in the fun kind of way, where it's just like, look at this shit show, because it's like edited like a movie, a music video. They've got the needle drops. It's all meh. The dude who is the Latino guy who set shit on fire at the end, it's like, this is what I was meant to do, and it's like all of it's just, that movie's a jumble in my head, and I've seen it twice, and I know it's like a bag of Legos. Like there's all parts there, but they're not adding up to shit.
It's
one of the Joker come in and out like 4 times in that movie.
The fact that that film and X-Men Apocalypse didn't destroy Hollywood overnight is kind of a miracle.
Apocalypse or Dark Phoenix?
No. I mean,
Apocalypse?
Dark Phoenix is not good, but
No.
Apocalypse is worse.
Yeah, it's bad. So anyways, thoughts on this version?
This movie's awesome. Like, this is what I want DC to be. Just be fucking weird as shit.
Mm-hmm.
Over on the YouTube channel right now, we're watching Young Justice for the first time, and so I'm getting a lot of like people and things mentioned in Young Justice. I'm like, oh my god, that was in the Suicide Squad, it was in this or that, and like I loved it. I had already seen the Birds of Prey, not Birds of Prey. No, this has come out after Birds of Prey.
Yeah, this is after.
Yeah, so I'd already seen Birds of Prey, and like watching Margot Robbie have a good time being Harley Quinn again was super great. Love Idris Elba since The Wire, so like all of that, and the movie was fun. There's a big giant fucking kaiju star you at the end. Like, let's just go. Let's do weird stuff, man. Sylvester Stallone. Was it Sylvester Stallone as King Shark? Like, all right, I'm here for that. This is wild, weird. The little rat girl had like a cute story. Polka Dot Man was sad and confusing. Like, this movie had emotions. They hit you with the bait and switch in the beginning where the whole team dies. It was funny, unexpected. The comedy was great, but the darkness and the seriousness was great too, but in a way that it needed to balance it out. So yeah, like, this is it. Like, this is what DC should have been. This is what Aquaman was trying to do. He was trying to hit that balance of super kitschy, super funny, super bright with all this dark stuff too, and being able to like dance that. And James Gunn just like kind of finessed it.
Yeah, this is the type of movie where I'm like, this is what I want from DC. This is where you could be not Marvel. And like Kevin Feige would lose his shit if Gunn turned this into him. And like, there's that entire scene where they take out the Freedom Fighters and they have that reveal. Slowly. Yeah, and come upon Rick Flag. He's like, "Oh, hey guys, what's going on?" Like, what? And the look on Cena and Elba's faces where they're like, "Oh, shh."
Right, and it's so dark.
so funny. Oh, and it's so dark, and you've got Cena, like, he's really good at comedy, but which is obvious now. Everybody knows that. But like this, putting him in this ridiculous role and calling it out for being ridiculous by just letting him play out rather than pointing it out.
Yeah.
All the time, and having Cena just be committed to the role.
He plays it straight. There's no winks, no nods. He's very much that character, and like he is a joke, but like he's not making a joke of it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Picking the weirdest fucking characters to put in this thing, like, brilliant, because no one's gonna have an expectation for any. Like, I doubt some people were like, "Oh yeah, they didn't do Peacemaker." Who fucking knew Peacemaker? Like, right?
Our world's full of a bunch of fucking, like, I talked about this last time, but but like people who think they need to be fans of everything, and then they hear about Peacemaker, so they go read Wikipedia about Peacemaker. Like, oh, I know about Peacemaker. Like, oh, they didn't do him right, because like, no, you didn't fucking. No one cared about Peacemaker.
I just had to look up Bloodsport to see if that was even a real character. So yes, no, like, that's it. Like, put in the most wildest shit you can get.
Yeah, they've got this nice sidebar for Harley Quinn to have like her own story. She's doing great. This movie's big. It's got IMAX cameras and stuff again. Just colorful, like, and the action's fun. Like when Rick Flag dies, like, I felt that, and I would have never thought that off a character.
And I hated Rick Flag
from the first one. Like, I love Joel Kinnaman, and like I've said before, like, he's in a lot of bad or mediocre movies, but it's never because of him.
Yeah.
He's never the issue. The guy just can't catch a freaking break. And then this is his best one, and nobody goes to see it.
And the caveat, I hate Rick Flag only because his name is Rick fucking Flag. And I was like from the other movie, I was like, what a name. Come on, y'all, like, for real. But then he dies at the end of this. It's all heart. You feel that.
Yeah.
And even with the Harley Quinn thing, with her being like, I don't need another man. It was like, great. I thought they were going to wallow in that, and that was going to be a whole thing forever. Cut it short.
Yep.
Like, we've already treaded these waters. We're done. She's going to move on. I was like, oh, the movie's like cool. Like, all right.
Yeah, this movie just bounces too. It's got good pace. It's got, weird thought out action, like that kaiju shit at the end. Like, this is just the movie that Marvel just could never make. And this is what, like I talked about Birds of Prey. You had it with that. Like, they could never make that one. And here we are again, and it's just too much too late.
Yeah.
So, Scott?
Well, the problem is the Suicide Squad got what I like to call Tomb Raider trapped.
If they made a third one, would it be a Suicide Squad?
Well, yeah, calling it the Suicide Squad instead of just Suicide Squad 2 didn't help.
Well,
But-
it felt like, they were like, this is a different one, but then like you started seeing the casting for it, be like, they're making a sequel.
Like, this is a fucking sequel. Everybody's back.
R.I.P. Captain Boomerang.
Yeah. I enjoy this one quite a bit. I've seen it twice. I do think after the first 20 minutes or so, it settles into a structure that isn't that different from the last Suicide Squad film. This is a better film a number of ways, where they're just walking around, randomly shooting at zombies, but aren't really zombies. And you're not supposed to think about how they're, people that got, hypnotized or whatever. But this is that done well. Everything else is fine.
Well, they're going to like bars, they're going to their driving.
They go into actual location work. And they have character interactions that actually work. Then Harley Quinn gets her own little, Terminator action sequence that's a lot of fun. But yeah, I mean, the first 20 minutes are like so platonic ideal of what you want from the Suicide Squad as a concept that the rest of the movie, while very good, cannot live up. And that's not the film's fault. It's just such a kick-ass curtain raiser sequence. And because after that point, to a certain extent, the characters that you expect to live, the characters you expect to die, and so forth and so forth.
You care about Polka Dot Man. You never see that coming.
Yeah. Oh, and the mom gag with Polka Dot Man's great.
Yeah,
too.
that was good.
That's good stuff.
And then both credit sequences walk back two of the more interesting, two of the more, surprising deaths, which pissed me off because I'm sick of movies walking back deaths in the post-credit scenes. And yes, I know one of them led to a television series, but it still pissed me off on principle because
you wanted the weasel fucking dead.
Let that play out as tragic as it is. But anyway, the production value is spectacular. The kaiju stuff is terrific. The cast is having a blast. Amanda Waller is really funny in this film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's weird because she's obviously been demoted in terms of her authority, and she kind of has to overcompensate for the idea that she's still a person of power and influence, even though she's not this time.
It's because she keeps fucking up with her bad ideas. Of
exactly. It makes
next, and they keep.
But because she has to fake it, it's even funnier.
Well, and they have the office culture they add to it there too,
Yes.
which is fun.
Oh yeah, that's terrific.
Yeah.
Because I always love applying the mundane and the minutia to spectacular situations.
Yes.
That is an easy way to make me laugh. That's why I love Teen Titans Go. That's why I love my favorite episode of Powerpuff Girls is Just Another Magic Mojo. And so I like this movie quite a bit, but commercially, it was always going to flop. Because why did Suicide Squad hit in 2016? It was a PG-13 movie with the first appearance of Harley Quinn. It had Will Smith in a starring role. It had a Batman cameo and a major supporting role for the Joker. This film, a 5 years later follow-up to a film that most people didn't like. No Joker, no Batman. As unfortunately we saw with Birds of Prey, Harley Quinn is not a marquee character. And no Will Smith. And as we saw with Men in Black International and Independence Day Resurgence, if you make a sequel to a Will Smith hit without Will Smith, you die.
One of the last movie stars still,
Yeah.
surprisingly.
Yeah.
He was the biggest movie star from like 2002 to 2012.
And just putting James Gunn's name above a title like they were doing, apparently
Again,
that does not mean anything to
People
anybody.
showed up to Guardians of the Galaxy because it was Marvel, not because it was James Gunn.
Yeah. Which it sucks because these were the movies that they should have been making earlier, which you can't do anything about.
Yes.
And then
And that's what the Tomb Raider trap is, where you make a piece of garbage that does well because of the hype and the awareness and the interest, and then you make a superior sequel, but nobody shows up because once bitten, twice shy.
Yeah. Well, and what's funny is the first Suicide Squad movie was restructured because of in reaction to a James Gunn film. And then he comes over to DC, gets to pick what he wants to do, does a Suicide Squad,
like,
and
this is subtext made text.
Yeah.
But no, I mean it's and my only grouchiness is that Patty Jenkins releases a movie in the darkest points of COVID, it gets decent reviews, makes $168 million. Wonder Woman 3 gets canceled. James Gunn releases The Suicide Squad, both of which cost around $200 million. In a point of COVID where there are vaccines available, it makes $168 million. He gets the keys to the DC kingdom. I don't want to say white male privilege, but white male privilege.
Yeah. Yeah.
And from what I am concerned that generally audiences aren't going to give a shit that this is another DC universe just because James Gunn is behind it. And frankly, I will be very interested to see what the racial makeup of these casts are, because you've already had a franchise that's been dinged for being transgressive and too much of a deconstruction. And I'll be very curious to the extent that this tries to course correct by being very traditional. And very traditional means lots of white guys. We'll see.
We shall see.
I mean, they had a shark guy this time. Hopefully they can keep it weird.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's funny. He starts the Superman stuff up, and it's like, oh, cool. We'll get a Superman. Oh, and it's got the Green Lantern in it, and it's got this guy in it, and this guy. I'm like, oh, okay. All right, but I will wait and see. I tend to like James Gunn's movies.
Yeah, I mean, Guardians 3 is spectacular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has my benefit. Artistically, I assume it will be a good movie.
Yeah.
Commercially, it's been 41 years since the last successful Superman movie.
Right. Yeah, very true. And who's like, it feels so weird that DC's doubling down at this time. Like, you're gonna have to rescue superhero movies with this. It's not just like, oh, you made a good one, made some money. Like, you really you have to resuscitate the entire genre.
And that's the tragedy of Wonder Woman 1984, because in 2017, Wonder Woman 1 had to prove that girls weren't box office poison and prove that girls would show up to superhero movies and women could direct superhero movies. And then 3 years later, Wonder Woman 84 has to save fucking movie theaters.
Yeah.
And gets penalized because it didn't save fucking movie theaters. Just like the Marvels, which 3-star movie, warts and all, is now responsible for saving Marvel Studios after 25 fucking movies starring white guys named Chris.
Yeah. Yep.
And I would argue the Marvels paid for the sins of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Oh, because that movie
Thor:
was
Love and
strong.
Thunder being lousy, and Secret Invasion being shitty, and all of this shit. And I genuinely think if the Marvels comes out in February instead of Ant-Man and the Wasp, I think it does Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania numbers. Now that's still 500 million, but that's a hell of a lot different than making Morbius money.
Mo money.
Mobius.
Mobius. All right.
Morbius.
So we're gonna switch back to Max, which actually this is the Max episode because Wonder Woman was on Max. So we'll keep on the Max train with Peacemaker from 2022.
This task force doesn't officially exist, so I don't do anything stupid.
No problem.
Seriously, dude.
We're saving the world. It's everything we've ever wanted.
2 clowns in costumes and a couple of rejects.
It's a little judgmental. Every time we turn around, one of you is doing something stupid.
It's like a real team out there.
Which was 6 episodes of which directed by James Gunn. The rest, Brad Anderson, Jody Hill, Rosemary Rodriguez. Whole thing written by James Gunn, starring John Cena, Danielle Brooks, Jennifer Holland, Freddie Stroma, Steve Agee, Chuck Woody, Awuji, Annie Chang, Lachlan Monroe, Elizabeth Fath Ludlow, Rochelle Greenwood, Viola Davis, Jason Momoa, Ezra Miller, and Robert Patrick, which the previous 2
Terminator
cameos were cameos. Picking up where the Suicide Squad left off, Peacemaker returns home after recovering from his encounter with Bloodsport, only to discover that his freedom comes at a price. All right. We all know this has the opening credits jam that took the world by storm.
Yes.
People love that. I could not get enough of it. So, Chris, where were you at with Peacemaker?
I was super hesitant. I was like, I don't know about this. And then I think 3 episodes in, all my friends like, you got to watch it. And I was like, all right, I'll watch it. And then thoroughly blown away. Was Peacemaker's real name Christopher Smith? More Chris's, very confusing. I do not like. But thought it was funny as shit. Thought it was good. I thought the commentary was good as well. Like Peacemaker's dad being like, all right, cool. If superheroes exist in America, then yes, one of them is hella racist. In fact, I would wager more than one of them. And like with Chris being an asshole and like that being his whole thing, and then finding out that his dad is a fucking grand dragon, actually, it's like, oh, that's wild. And like, yeah, that kind of tracks. I get that. And they going in, and then oh man, what was old girl's name? I forgot the one character's name. Viola Davis's
Waller's daughter.
Yeah. Leota was her first name. Okay. I remember that much. But her and having mom issues, Chris having dad issues, all that family shit, super cool stuff to be dealing with. And then, hey, there's butterflies inside of people and a giant space cow. It's like, all right, we're back onto the, hey, DC, this is what you could be. You could be rated R and you could be weird as shit, and you could actually have something to say and something to do, and people would be cool with that. And the music can be all fucking glam rock that I haven't heard most of any of those songs. Like, they weren't even like big popular songs. I felt
James
like
Gunn knows how to pick songs. Like people,
yeah,
he's up there. He's built to be like Scorsese and Tarantino with knowing where to put a song.
And I just thought it was good. I thought that Peacemaker's whole being a super asshole to people like Economos or whatever, like being an asshole to him, and then like lightening up eventually and letting people in, like did a really good job. And it was fun. And Peacemaker fucked a bunch because he's a superhero who has a problem and he looks like John Cena. So that makes sense too. Like, he's got a pet eagle named Eagly. Like, that shit's hilarious. Like, it was a fun fucking movie, TV show, weird as shit. And even the butterfly thing was like, oh, they recognize what humans are doing on their planet is the same thing they did on their planet. They're trying to stop them. And it's like, oh, that's a big conundrum. What do you do? Do you kill them? Do you help them? What do you do? Like, that's really deconstructing a character whose name is Peacemaker, who his whole thing is that he'll do anything for peace. Like, that's dumb as fuck. And they really took that and ran with it. It was great. It's good. Good show.
Scott?
I enjoyed it. I watched it when it initially aired. It took me a couple episodes to really get into it. I think the back half is stronger than the second half or the first half. I do think they mostly avoided certain traps in terms of let's redeem this vicious, nationalistic, racist jackass because, gee whiz, he cries and has feelings. In fact, if anything, they kind of deal with that right up front at the beginning of the show with the conversation he has with, I think, a janitor or something about like, where'd you hear I was racist? I'm an asshole, but I'm not. My father's racist. I'm not racist.
Yeah.
And I think this is the kind of work that's very well suited to Cena, in that he's a big, blustery guy that can be a very subtle actor when he wants to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought the supporting cast was enjoyable. And yeah, I mean, I don't have that much to add other than what's already been said. It's a pretty straightforward streaming show. I appreciate that it's mostly one and done. And yes, it's not like the world ends, so there could be a season 2, but it doesn't end on this giant cliffhanger. And I appreciate that they do kill off major characters, because even though it's a TV show, you can't just have everybody survive at the end, which I think has been a problem with, especially, not exclusively, but also superheroic television in recent years. I mean, I was stupid enough to think of the, back in the first season of The Flash, when Harrison Wells disappeared through the timeline because the one guy shot himself, that he was actually dead.
Yeah.
Like, well, that's the end of him. Neat. As much as I enjoyed the work that Tom Cavanaugh did in the intervening seasons, that's still a character that by all rights should have been dead after season 1. The Arrowverse is filled with characters like that. But anyway, so yeah, it's a solid spin-off. It feels like a television show more than an 8-hour movie, which is nice. Each episode has a beginning, middle, and end. which isn't the kind of thing you used to take, the kind of thing you used to take for granted in the old days.
Right. Yeah.
Even something like 24, every episode of 24 was a complete narrative.
Mm-hmm.
They were very, or Lost. Every episode of Lost had a beginning, middle, and end of that episode. During that time, what for me was the hardest show to follow if I wasn't paying rigorous attention, it wasn't Lost or 24 or Alias, it was Arrested Development. And that's not a criticism.
Yeah.
But that's a show that would expect you to remember a joke from like 5 episodes ago.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a solid show. We still really don't know if anyone actually watched it.
Right.
Which I think is funny because it was sort of used as a de facto excuse for it's okay the Suicide Squad flopped because we got Peacemaker out of it. And that's a hit for HBO Max. A, we don't know that. And B, and this goes into the whole, problem with putting all your eggs in the streaming basket over the last 3 years. What content is on your streaming service does not move the needle in terms of your overall subscription count, and thus makes no damn difference to your stock price.
Right.
Yeah.
So all of the damage that was done to theatrical was for nothing.
Yeah. Well, Chris?
Oh, yeah. I was just going to add that for us, Peacemaker does well on like our YouTube because we're doing reactions to it. And a lot of the other reactors are getting pretty decent numbers on Peacemaker. So people like it. That doesn't tell us if people watched it, but I will say people like it, or they wouldn't be watching us watch it. So
yeah,
they're into it.
I liked it as well. I was hesitant going in because I'm like, oh, they're just milking the fact they have Cena on contract and they won't be doing another Suicide Squad movie. And then I was happily surprised. This looks like James Gunn revisiting his movie Super and realizing it in a different way. Because there's a whole ridiculousness of just him in any scenario in the real world, and then adding Vigilante, very reminiscent of Elliot Page.
The other one.
Yeah, well, yeah, Elliot Page's character being around, and Vigilante was funny as hell. Kind of being his old, like they do for this really goofy cartoonish character. They do a hell of a job giving him this arc and seeing like his past, his father, Vigilante, what he wants, and making it human, but not like changing him at all. Like not changing the character or anything like that. That's really hard to do. But it's funny seeing him going to like the restaurant and is he always wearing that, like, and just being in broad daylight and the wood and like all the natural settings. It's got a pretty decent enough mystery and good builds, and like Scott said, 3-act structure in every episode. That's great. Yeah. I think the finale's action scene delivered. Like one of the cool things that people just like with superhero movies, you'll see they start outside in the cars parked away and work their way all the way to the barn. And it's not like a one-shot thing. You're just watching this action develop, and it's actually traveling and going somewhere. It's not just defense or just there
or big open battlefield type stuff.
Yeah. It's traveling inside the barn, below the barn, like, and it's really, really effective. Pretty cool stuff. And I mean, there's some solid action throughout and some funny things. And the music, man out of place, and it kind of, for some reason, because it's Cena and going with wrestling and knowing back then, like the old school wrestlers probably were jamming to this shit.
Yeah.
Back in the 80s and stuff, it just adds another layer of fun to it. But this is a really fun show. I've gone through it twice now, full, and not bad. I don't think it's like the most amazing thing in the world, but again, this is DC doing what DC could do, and this I think there's a more enjoyable nature to what DC is doing here with Peacemaker and rewatchability than any of the Netflix Defenders programming that came out. I did like some of that, but there's something to Peacemaker that's like they're doing things that those shows want to, but relaxing while they're doing it. There's not
there's also fewer episodes, so for better or worse, there's less padding. And that's one of the problems with streaming television.
And as Scott mentioned, a 3-act structure in every episode.
Yes. Defenders wanted you to watch all of it and then remember and connect it through. I do like how Peacemaker did a good job at Like Peacemaker's this super jingoistic dude who's like
Mm-hmm.
hella patriotic and all that. But I like how like white trashy he could be at times. Like
Oh,
the
yeah.
diner, the bar, like you want to out back and shoot shit. It's like, yeah, that's the kind of guy that would be a vigilante. Is a guy who's out back in the woods shooting shit, who has his hero fantasy, and now his best friend's a hero. I'm a hero too. And he's like Vigil's supposed to be. And like I like that because it's like, yes, like anybody who's like, oh, I wish I was Batman. You're not a billionaire. You're not Batman. You're
Right.
vigilante. Like that's who you are. That's anybody who wants to put on a costume. You're probably a dude in the woods who's smashing shit with the crowbar and shooting his dad's gun. Like you're that guy before you're Batman any day of the week. And I like that you got to hang out with him and see him. And then they didn't even make him a joke or a villain the whole time. It's like, oh no, a little bit of heart in there. And like that's impressive to get people to want to stick around with a character who's that fucked up.
Yeah. No, it's all around, and you get the squad from Suicide Squad, the Amanda Waller's crew from that over to here. Yeah, and it's just it works, and it doesn't sit, and it gets through a lot of the we're in a shared world superhero thing real fast at that janitor scene talking about Aquaman fucking fish or whatever. And
I'm sure that'll come up in Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom.
Yeah, sure. Well, yeah, that'll be there. But yeah, and then they have that nice little Justice League cameo at the end that, you know, he's all pissed at like, yeah, he wouldn't work with them. You know, like it doesn't happen. But no, this is a good show. I was not against it, but I was not like, I'm not thinking it was going to be much, and it turned out to be a lot more than I thought it would be.
It's better than it had the right to be.
Mm-hmm.
I do like Danielle Brooks too being in it because I really liked her in Orange is the New Black, and I felt like she was a good actress in Orange is the New Black, but started towards the end really putting it on and was like, oh shit, you got some fucking acting chops, let's go. And then actually having a once again like character arc and having some depth here, like all the characters kind of did, where that's it's not needed. You didn't need to do that, but there it is, and it's happening. It's like, oh shit, this is good. Like even with Economos being like, why are you always making fun of me and calling me Diebeard? And he's like, well, just giving you shit into like you, and it's like, oh, like none of these characters they could have all been one dimensional, and it probably would have been fine, right? But they gave them depth, and they gave them that, and it kind of makes the story hit harder, even with the Goth butterfly sticking around all the way to the end. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. It's interesting that a show or a character as dumb as fucking Peacemaker can be like, oh, this is weirdly heartwarming at times.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's the kind of thing that I think, well, I know it came out then, like, I don't know, could be considered woke in some ways, but why are they putting this on him? It's not that. It's just doing a good job with a character, not making him a full-on asshole, but making him a reasonable asshole without having to be like, oh, well, this or that or anything else. And that's all. It was fun. It's a fun
like he's
show.
True to himself. He learns, but is true to himself, and everybody's honest with each other. And they all go. And it's funny. They all are slowly working through themselves, but learning each other to become a group themselves at some point too. That when you get to that final battle, they have been through not just the physical journey to get there. There's been an emotional and not overly bearing emotional one, just to getting to know people and understand what they value, every single one of them. And so they all know each other's values before they head into that last battle.
Yeah.
Which is very cool. So
and there's a gorilla chainsaw murder that, you know.
Yes.
And the
always
dove
a
of
plus.
peace on the gun. Good shit.
Good shit. And eagly. Dumbest thing that was awesome. So all right. Well, we have wrapped up another one. We're three quarters through this. One more to go. But this was a pretty all right episode. Last one was the highs. This one, respect for the movie, everything here. Yeah. I think.
I mean, I think I like by default. I like Wonder Woman 84 more than the both of you.
Yeah,
but it's not a masterpiece. But again, so for me, they're all solid 3-star projects.
Yeah, they're all pretty good through straight through. But yeah, like so, like this notion that DC's just bad and everything they're doing is awful. It's like from all of our episodes, so we're 3/4 of the way through here now, and I feel like as a blown out of proportions notion.
Well,
we still have the one episode left, but at this point, people are saying those things, and I feel like it is just like I'm like it's not Marvel, and that's okay. Like
The problem was by allowing the Snyder cut to be made, you brought all of that back into the discourse. And 4 years removed, give or take, you had people that, I know full well in 2016 were saying Batman v Superman is terrible. Warner Brothers needs to do something. Now they're writing editorials saying Marvel is dumb. The Snyderverse is what we need right now.
It's not. There's other things.
Yep.
There's other than the two things. There's so many things.
So it's like there was this giant bit of temporary amnesia that the discourse became how the heartless, horrible Warner Brothers threw Zack Snyder off of his movie, even though he was successful up to that point, and brought in Joss Whedon, who apparently revealed as a serial jackass, as if they knew that going in, and as if somehow Marvel didn't rescue his career from total oblivion after Angel. I mean, at some point, Marvel, to the extent that that matters, and we can argue to the extent that it does, Marvel does need to answer for bringing Joss Whedon out of oblivion and putting him back on the top of the pop culture mountain, because they are single-handedly responsible for that.
Yeah.
And because he wasn't exactly drowning in work after, Firefly was canceled, Dollhouse was canceled.
Drive.
Remember
that one? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And again.
Oh, no, wait. Was that? No, that was Nathan Fillion. I think.
Oh, right.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if he had something to do with that or not, but.
And again, I will believe that Marvel didn't know that he was a jackass on the set of Buffy. I will believe that Warner Brothers didn't know that he was a jackass on the set of Buffy. But somehow this all got tangled that, Warner Brothers, terrible analogy here, so please forgive me, but, Warner Brothers were treated like the people that, knowingly took a pedophile priest and sent him to a different church.
Yeah.
And it just, the discourse around that basically destroyed any and all goodwill that DC had accumulated in the Walter Hamada era. And then Hamada got somehow absorbed into the narrative, even though he wasn't there during Justice League. He was brought in after Justice League, specifically because Justice League was a clusterfuck. And it just, I know I shouldn't care, and if I wasn't in the media, I probably wouldn't, but it drove me nuts how that transpired, because it was almost like we were being gaslit. It was like, no, I was there. Batman v Superman was very poorly received. It was seen as a disaster. And Aquaman and Shazam and Joker and, were successful money-making smash hits. Don't pretend they weren't.
Yeah.
But whatever.
But
before I just wanted to say that it reminds me of TV, where the second season is when a show really kind of finds its footing. And it kind of felt like DC was about to get into its second season, really. Towards the end of that first season, they had a couple of those hits, and they're like, all right, second season, I think we know what we're doing. Done.
Then in the middle of their second season, just like Heroes, whoops, strike.
Oh, sorry about that. Looks
now, to be fair,
TV
the second season of Heroes was terrible beforehand.
Yeah.
But I digress.
Right. All right. Well, the hierarchy is about to change, though, for our next episode. So, Chris, thank you for joining us here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. What do you and the Normies have coming up, and where all can people keep up with everything you're doing?
You guys can find us over on YouTube at the Normies group, or if you just type up the Normies, you'll find us. It's a big old N. It's a bunch of people sitting on a couch. We do reactions. We do them ethically. We're sticking to the law, because we're not going to show you the whole episode or something. We're only going to watch cool parts and talk about the parts we like, and that's how we do things. Right now, we are going through all of Young Justice, which is surprisingly good, much better than it really has the right to be. DC has lived in these cartoons for so long. That's where they've been doing their shit at. Everybody's talking about the movies. Young Justice is crazy.
The animated Young Justice show?
Yeah, we're on the third season.
Where have you
right
been
now.
The last decade? It was great.
That's what I just missed out on it completely. And I was like, all right.
I was there when it got canceled. Everybody cried.
We just got to season 3 when it got back from being canceled. And I was like, oh, shit, they've updated things. It's been... So that's where we're at. We do Star Wars. We're doing a lot of cool shit right now. So you can go over there and you can see our opinions and watch us. We also have a movie club podcast where we are doing a little bit of the old media literacy and watching movies. all because of one of our friends on the YouTube channel. He watched American Psycho and he didn't like it or get it. And then I was like, man, we should watch movies on the podcast so I can teach you how to watch a fucking movie, bro. And that's where we're at. So come through, check us out.
Sweet. And Scott.
I am at Puck News on a weekly basis, and I have recently started my own Substack called The Outside Scoop, which is basically an attempt to go back to what I used to be really good at Forbes during the good times. For now, there is no paywall. Eventually there will be. I hope some of you will pay up. If not, then I guess I'm going to have to do more clickbait.
There you go. And this week, that scoop is Cherry Garcia. That is the outside scoop this week. All right. And I'm on the socials at Brandon4KUHD. You can find all things live podcast stage and podcast awards, as well as information on the coolest convention on the planet, PopCon at popcon.us. That's where Chris hangs out too. And next time, Scott and I close the retrospective portion of this series with guest Aaron Neuwirth as we do Black Adam, Shazam, Fury of the Gods, The Flash, and Blue Beetle. So stay film positive, as I'm surely going to try.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at BrandonPetersShow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at BrandonPetersShow.com. The show is available on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.